Imagine, it's 1816, a volcanic eruption has messed with the weather so bad that Europe basically skipped summer. It's cold, dark, raining non-stop, and a group of young people are trapped in a mansion on Lake Geneva, bored out of their minds. One of them is 18-year-old Mary Shelley, who by the end of this gloomy getaway will create one of the most famous monsters in literary history. But Mary's real life was way darker, way weirder, and honestly just as gothic as the book she wrote. Today, we're talking about the wild, tragic, brilliant life of Mary Shelley, the teenage runaway who accidentally invented science fiction. But before we get into all of that, hey friends, my name's DMARI and welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and push the bell notification so you get notified every time I upload, and also like this video if you liked it. Okay, now let's talk about Mary Shelley's life. Mary Shelley was basically destined to be intense. She was born in 1797 to two of the biggest radicals in England. Her mom, Mary Wollstonecraft, wrote A Vindication of the Rights of Women, basically the I Don't Need a Man manifesto of the 18th century. Her dad, William Goodwin, was a philosopher who thought marriage was oppressive and was property theft. So, there was totally normal dinner conversations happening. But unfortunately, her mom died just days after she was born, so little Mary grew up surrounded by books, revolutionaries, and existential guilt. She literally learned to read by watching her father write philosophy. And she had this habit of hanging around her mother's grave, like regularly. She'd read and write there, which sounds morbid, but in her defense, it's hard to be goth in the 1800s when Hot Topic hadn't even been invented yet. By her teens, she's the smart, dreamy, slightly rebellious girl, and that's when she met Percy Bysshe Shelley. I hope I said his middle name right. A handsome, poetic disaster of a man. There's just one problem, though. He's married. But Percy was like, I don't care about rules, and Mary was like, you're so deep. So at 16, she runs away with him to Europe, leaving behind her family, his wife, and any chance at a normal life. Cue scandal. They're broke, in love, and constantly on the move, writing poetry, dodging creditors, and leaving chaos everywhere they go. Basically, they're the original emo influencers. So let's fast forward to 1816, the year that literally had no summer. Mount Tambora, a volcano in Indonesia, erupted so violently that ash covered the sky and temperatures dropped all over Europe. Crops failed, people starved, and in Switzerland the weather was so bad that Mary, Percy, and their famous friend Lord Byron were stuck indoors for weeks. So Byron, being Byron, says, let's each write a ghost story. Casual. Everyone grabs their quills and wine glasses and they start coming up with horror tales. Polidori, Byron's doctor, writes The Vampire, the story that literally inspired Dracula, and Mary? For days she was blank, nothing. Writer's block was 10 out of 10. Then one night she had this nightmare, a scientist reanimating a corpse. Lightning, sparks, life, death, the whole thing. She wakes up shaking, but she can't stop thinking about it. The dream becomes Frankenstein, or the modern Prometheus. And remember, she's 18. 18! Most of us were just trying to survive high school and bad haircuts at that age. So she starts writing, and Percy's like, you should make it a novel. So she does. They published it anonymously in 1818 because everyone assumes a book that dark had to be written by a man. But when people found out it was actually her, Victorian England collectively clutched their pearls. Meanwhile, Mary's like, yeah, I wrote it between traveling in Europe, having babies, and running from scandal. What did you do this year? This is where things get heartbreaking. Mary and Percy's relationship was passionate, but also chaotic and constantly shadowed by tragedy. They lost their first baby shortly after birth. Mary had nightmares about bringing the baby back to life, which later became one of Frankenstein's main themes. Life and death weren't abstract ideas for her, she lived them. They had more children, but only one, Percy Florence, survived. To make things worse, Percy's first wife, the one he left, drowned herself. Mary was racked with guilt, and the tabloids were vicious. Their friends started distancing themselves, but despite all of this, they kept traveling through Italy, chasing inspiration and debt collectors. Then in 1822, everything fell apart. Percy went sailing and drowned in a storm. He was 29, Mary was 24. When they found his body, they tried to cremate him, but his heart wouldn't burn. So naturally, Mary kept it, wrapped it in one of his poems, and yes, she kept it for the rest of her life. Because when Mary Shelley loved someone, she really committed. After Percy's death, Mary's story could have ended in total obscurity, but she didn't fade away. She was a widow, broke, and raising her son alone in a society that basically treated her like a scandal in a corset. But she kept writing. She wrote Valperga, Blodeuer, Faulkner, and my favorite, The Last Man, a dystopian novel about a plague wiping out humanity. Yes, before zombie apocalypses were cool, Mary Shelley was already killing off mankind with a mysterious virus. It's bleak, poetic, and obviously inspired by all the deaths she'd experienced, including the loss of her husband and her friends like Lord Byron. Fun fact, early readers of The Last Man said it was too depressing, which is kind of the point. Despite all the illness and grief, Mary worked hard to preserve Percy's legacy, editing his poems, publishing his work, and protecting his reputation, all while her father-in-law tried to keep her away from her own son. Because even after everything, Victorian society was still like, not sure we can trust a single woman who writes about reanimation. She eventually got her independence back, though, and lived a quiet life focused on her son, but her health declined. Doctors now think she might have had a brain tumor. She died in 1851 at just 53. And when her son and daughter in law opened her desk afterward, they found locks of her dead children's hair, Percy's ashes, and the same unburned heart. Tell me that isn't straight out of a Gothic novel. Mary Shelley wasn't just the girl who wrote Frankenstein, she basically invented the idea of science fiction before electricity was even that common. She asked questions that still haunt us. What does it mean to create life? Where does responsibility end? What happens when humans play God? And she did it at 18, in a world where women couldn't vote, couldn't go to university, and definitely weren't supposed to write about corpses coming back to life. Her monster was taken of life of its own, literally. From Boris Karloff to Benedict Cumberbatch to every Halloween costume since 1931, we're still obsessed with it. But the truth is, Mary Shelley's real life story is even more haunting than the one she wrote. She gave the world a monster, but she also gave it a mirror, because in the end, Frankenstein isn't just about what we create, it's about what we abandon. Thank you so much for watching to the end of this video. Please like this video if you liked it, and let me know down below which Frankenstein adaptation is your favorite. My favorite is definitely Mary Shelley's Frankenstein of 1994 with Helena Bonham Carter and Robert De Niro. It was the first one I ever watched, and it's just really stuck with me, and I watch it every single year. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!